Contestants, how many of you consider addiction a disease?
Oh, yeah, I'm for that.
Yeah, well, that's a load of crap. Addicts are worthless and weak. That's called tough love. I say auto workers in dairy. I think union. How many of you are proud of that American tradition? Well, organized labor is the leech that is sucking our economy dry. Remember that. Got it? Hey, Yugi, how many of you think execution should be shown on national television as a deterrent for crime, especially for the kids? Yes, I am with you, so we're all in agreement. You agree with that, lawman?
Sure do.
How many of you think the opinions of actors should be valued as much as, well, say, doctors, engineers, or a courageous congressman?
Right here. Yeah, right on.
Well, you're wrong. Actors are self-centered punks. Ladies, we want to have fun today, but let's not forget safety first. Now, you all have your helmets, but how many of you brought condoms? Huh? Very good, but... Thanks, Guy. Now, how many of you believe that being overweight or morbidly obese is caused by a genetic predisposition? Show of hands. Well, you're wrong. They're fat, lazy slobs who won't take responsibility for themselves. Thanks, Guy. Okay, how many of you believe that too much value is placed on outward appearance and that we should pay more attention to who the person is on the inside? Oh, you're all wrong. Pretty people always win. That's why I'm the captain. Thanks, Guy. How many of you think that high-quality health care should be made available to everybody, regardless of income or ability to pay? Show of hands. You're all wrong. Rich people stay healthy. Poor people get sick and die. That's natural selection. Question. How many think that Desperate Housewives is good, clean fun? A harmless social satire of today's women? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. It's a sham. Question. As a result of the popularity of The Godfather and The Sopranos, who thinks all Italian Americans are cold-blooded sociopathic killers? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. Most Italian Americans... What? You talking to me? Do you realize you've interrupted my statement about Italian Americans? Thinks James Bond is a Machiavellian misogynist pretending to protect God and country while serving his prurient desires. Show of hands? Now! Well, you're absolutely wrong! Just because you save the world while remaining perfectly groomed and you can have any woman that crosses your path doesn't make you a callous hedonist. Well, how many of you think that Hollywood's elite, by virtue of their superior genetics, should be allowed to love freely? Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. You don't get fruit salad like this for tossing someone other than your spouse's salad. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's depraved. For example, you, Mr. Belushi. Question. How many think shows like Sesame Street are a valuable learning tool preparing our children for tomorrow's challenges? Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong. PBS is nothing but a propaganda machine promoting the gay agenda. How many of you think professional wrestlers are mere simpletons with overactive pituitaries and belong in a circus sideshow? Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong. They're highly disciplined competitors, just like other pro athletes who entertain millions. And if you disagree, they'll kick your asses. Well, question. Who thinks Howard Stern's whack packers are being exploited for their freakish genetic defects? All to line his pockets. Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong. Without Howard, these people would be making in a cardboard box. Like you, whack packer. What say you? Question. Who thinks that the fashion industry's supermodels set an unfair standard of perfection, impossible for the average person to meet? Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong. And obviously fat and single.
I'm fat and single.
Question. Who thinks the plethora of television custom car shows illustrates our visceral obsession with aesthetics and high-speed machinery? Show of hands? Now! Well, you're wrong. Muscle cars are an extension of a man's personality and projected virility. You. Question. Who feels Hollywood only makes macho movies for men and tearjerkers for the gals? It's either muscles or menzies and nothing for everyone. Show of hands? Now. Well, you're wrong. There are macho films that appeal to men and women, and they all star Queen Latifah. Question. Who here thinks rap music glorifies lawlessness, violence, drug use, and disrespect for women? Show of hands? Now. Oh, well, you're wrong. It's just dance music. Get a life, for God's sakes. If you don't like it, take off. A pair of baggy pants and a do-rag does not a murderer make. Well, like you, bestiality boys. Question. How many think the wealthy are undertaxed, overfed, and line the pockets at the expense of Joe Lunchpail? Show of hands? Now. Well, you're wrong. If it wasn't for the wealthy, there'd be more poor people who wouldn't even have a Jar Jar Binks lunchbox to piss in. Oh, what say you, young preppies?
We're the military.
Question. How many think NASCAR racing has become the great American sport, exhibiting the ultimate synchronicity of man and machine? Show of hands? Now. Well, you're wrong. The proponents of NASCAR are inbred beer-swilling mullet heads who only live for car crashes and collecting disabilities.
Greetings, impressionable minds. Question: how many of you think the university experience is ample preparation to ensure a successful life in the real world? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. The only things you'll glean from your college experience are several well-crafted beer bongs, student loans you'll never repay, and a variety of STDs.
How many of you believe that industrial pollutants have created a hole in the ozone and are responsible for global warming? Show of hands now.
I do.
Well, you're wrong. Fluorocarbons are beneficial. I mean, look at the sheen on this quaff. Who thinks contemporary literature is in shambles and lacks the great masters? Shakespeare, Hemingway, and Jackie Collins. Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. I just published the captain's autobiography called Well, You're Wrong by the captain. Thanks, Keith. How many of you feel that psychic phenomenon should be recognized as a legitimate science? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. It's bogus. And the practitioners are nothing but charlatans, preying on the weak, like you two gypsies. Question: how many of you think today's courageous adventurers are much like the fearless pioneers of days gone by? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. They're nothing but a band of suicidal loners and drunk bungee jumpers who overuse the word extreme. How many of you think you'd be better off if your parents disciplined you through polite reasoning, negotiations, and an unconditional reward system? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Spineless parenting just creates self-centered, spoiled brats whose future will be traveling cross-country, picking up loners and murdering them. Who thinks that organized criminals are noble renegades like Robin Hood, stealing from the undeserving rich and giving to the poor? Show of hands now. Now! Well, you're wrong, and I'll tell you why. Mobsters are sociopathic misfits, glorified in film and television, like The Sopranos and Martha Stewart. Question: how many of you believe an expensive coffin, an ornate headstone, and a celebrity eulogy is necessary for your eternal happiness? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong, damn it. Why waste your money on the dead? A brass casket or a wooden box? Either way, you're worm food. Captain says, live now. Whoa. How many of you think it's immoral to pay others for stimulation that oftentimes barely lasts 3 minutes? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. Amusement parks are wholesome experiences that the whole family can participate in. Question: how many think that today's forensic specialists with their high-tech methods and DNA analysis are keeping our streets safer? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. Want to keep our streets safe? 3 words. Book 'em, Deno. How many feel the presidential debates are the most important component to the electoral process, giving us an unfiltered look at the candidates? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. They're nothing but orchestrated beauty contests with softball questions and pre-scripted answers. The only thing that's hard is the cash made by the networks showing the debates. Now, how many of you feel that breast enlargements have little to do with the needs of women and more to do with the satisfaction of men? Show of hands, now. You're wrong! Oh, well, maybe you're right. Whoa. Who believes that phobias are a legitimate manifestation of childhood traumas, leaving behind deep emotional scars? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong! Fears and phobias are pathetic excuses for the weak-minded to hide behind, so they can avoid responsibility and file bogus disability claims that you and I have to pay for! Frightening. How many of you think love and romance is overrated, and that they only exist in states of fantasy and dementia? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong. That wonderful interaction between a man and a woman feeds the soul, calms the heart, and provides relief to the nether regions. Wow. How many of you think that video games improve mental dexterity for survival in a modern high-tech world? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong. You'll be nothing but couch potatoes and drones and wind up selling shoes. How many of you think that modern waste recyclists are responsible environmentalists whose only concern is to save Mother Earth? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong. They're nothing but guilt-filled elitists who recycle their latte cups while driving gas-guzzling Hummers and struggling with intimacy. Am I right? Who here thinks that malcontents foster a climate of critical thinking, thereby generating positive change? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong. Malcontents are nothing but a bunch of mealy-mouthed complainers who... Whoa! Look at the coconuts dangling on those trees. How many of you feel that today's shopping malls don't just promote commerce, but provide a culturally enriched gathering place for the community? Show of hands, now! Well, you're wrong. Malls are breeding grounds for juvenile delinquents. I'm talking to you, sir. There's shoplifting, drug deals, and not to mention anonymous gay sex by supposed straight men in the top levels of the parking structure. How many feel every man, woman, and child is entitled to health insurance, regardless of income or station in life? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. You want socialized medicine? Then be prepared to wait in line to see your doctor, like the communists did when they waited in line for their pathetic ration of vodka. How many feel that elitist blue bloods are unproductive, spoiled heirs, whose only accomplishment is being born into the right family? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. Without them, we wouldn't have polo, yachting, or television's The Simple Life. How many think that broadcast news is the best source of unfiltered information for local and world events? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. They sensationalize, trivialize, and distort the facts. Turn off the TV and pick up a paper. Hey, how many of you think the U.S. Postal Service is the model of government efficiency and spends your tax dollars wisely? Show of hands, Schnell. Well, you're wrong. The only thing they're good at is protecting their jobs and raising the price of stamps. How many think American courtrooms are sacred sanctuaries serving justice without prejudice, where all are innocent until proven guilty? Show of hands, Aora. Yeah! Well, you're wrong. They're nothing but three-ring circuses where justice is for sale. Celebrities and their high-priced attorneys play to the camera and are only concerned with ratings and book deals. But those are the captain's thoughts. Yeah. What say you? Question, how many believe that a woman's place is in the home, raising children and running a traditional household? Show of hands, Toot Sweet. I appreciate your offer, but you're wrong, ladies. Women are just as competitive as men, especially on the volleyball court with those high-cut French shorts, or gracing the cover of the swimsuit issue of a premier men's sporting magazine. And when it comes to the ruthless boardrooms, who better to lead a company than a female CEO with a snug Donna Karan suit and 6-inch stiletto heels? Question, how many think to have a successful career you need a role model, someone to give you guidance and take you under their wing? Show of hands, now! You're wrong. Huh? Only the weak follow. Don't be a sheep, like this audience. Leaders separate themselves from the herd. We're men, not trained monkeys. Question, how many feel that comic books are a gateway to a limitless universe bound only by our imaginations? Manos arriba, now. Well, you're wrong. It's mindless drivel.
Hey, over here.
Green Lantern rules.
I like Spider-Man.
Guys. The captain hears you. What's your point?
Well, we really don't have one. Sorry.
Question, who feels the health industry distorts our perception of beauty and fitness with empty promises of social success and immortality? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong.
Captain, I'm 85 and I start each day with an egg salad sandwich and a carton of Viceroy.
My point exactly. A diet rich in tar and cholesterol can add years to a man's life. Congratulations. Question, how many think the religious right has seized control of the White House, forcing their agenda on America and quashing healthy sexual diversity? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. The religious right is our moral watchdog. We all know it only takes one homosexual act to soil the linens of society. Religion is very important. How many think that MySpace and similar social networking websites are wholesome endeavors that forge lasting friendships? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. These websites are computerized matchmakers putting together innocent, trusting teens with hardened adults who are required to register their whereabouts. Now, you, Leatherboy, when's the last time you talked to a real person? Question, who thinks video games create weak, antisocial shut-ins? Show of hands, now. Are you wrong? Of course you're wrong. Without video games, what would this zit-faced teen be doing?
I'd probably go on a date.
Easy, Sparky. Do you think a real girl would be interested in a joystick puller like yourself? How many dates have you been on?
0.
I make video games. I get tons of girls.
Exactly. That's the difference between makers and takers. You question, who thinks sex and violence in movies is nothing more than an innocent reflection of today's world? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong.
Captain, you're always right.
Thank you. I'm humbled. Now, as I was saying, sex begets violence, and violence begets make-up sex. Well, you three sexual lab rats, what do you have to say? Go ahead. My point exactly. Question, who thinks these so-called chick magnets are nothing more than insecure Lotharios who fear intimacy and commitment? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. We're doing God's work, unlike you two cellmates up there whose loins should be rendered fruitless. Our seed is scattered around the world with a heavy concentration between the two globes. Got it, playmates? Question, how many think daredevils like the cast of Jackass are adventurers testing the limits of man's physical and mental endurance? Show of hands, now. Well, you're wrong. They're a bunch of latent homocentric fecophiles. Any dissenters?
No.
Thought not, Candy. Question! Who feels men's magazines objectify and exploit innocent young women as nothing more than prime cuts of grade A bikini and/or sweater meat? Show of hands now! Damn it, you're wrong! Where else could Jenny McCarthy and Carmen Electra showcase their surgically perfected forms and become the playgrounds of rock stars and straight actors? Question! Who thinks man is systematically choking and destroying Mother Earth through greed and a woeful lack of concern for our children's future? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. That's not pollution, that's progress. I don't see a belching black smokestack or a strip-mined mountainside. I see a rewarding $6.75 an hour job.
You're a liar!
Whoa. Mr. Nader, I will have you removed. Got it? Thank you. Question! Who thinks because of their social status, celebrity moms are more nurturing, providing better homes for their offspring, and are better caregivers? Show of hands now! You're so wrong, you make me laugh. But on a serious note, celebrity moms are narcissistic, publicity-seeking opportunists who couldn't care for a common goldfish, let alone a chia pet. Comment? Question! Who thinks the White House is trying to take over the world? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. The White House should have absolutely...
No, they're right, Captain.
What? It's you, Howie Dean, the little man with the big screen.
And I say the White House is the world's bully. Yeah!
Oh, I suppose you're a decorated military man? Let's compare decorations.
All right, yeah!
Oh, that's not too annoying. Look, Howie, the White House is the world's police. We keep our nose in everyone's business, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah.
Question! Who thinks even the most obnoxious, annoying, and off-putting people have some redeeming qualities, and thus should be given the benefit of the doubt? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. You, for example, can we get a tight shot of the pound cake in the front row? Question! Who thinks today's college athletes are great American sportsmen, exemplary scholars, and most likely tomorrow's well-toned leaders? Show of hands now! Well, you're wrong. They're nothing but coddled children who abuse handicapped parking spaces and cheerleaders. Thanks, Guy. How many of you believe that having a hobby is a healthy and perfect way to express your individuality? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Your useless hobbies are a thinly veiled attempt to fill the void of your dysfunctional, loveless existence. End of story. Thanks, Guy. Hey, how many of you think computer developers are technological titans, the high-tech equivalent of Edison, Ford, and Carnegie? Well, you're wrong. They're antisocial outcasts who can barely remember what day it is, and they mess themselves. Now, how many of you think that the expansion of cable television networks has provided the American public with a cornucopia of quality programming? Well, you're wrong. We now have hundreds of channels, but they're all filled with crap. Hey, how many of you think that animals and humans should be viewed as equals, neither superior to the other? Show of hands now. Well, as usual, you're wrong. Animals are here for our benefit. It's called the food chain, and the captain's at the top. Comments? How many of you think that contemporary video games are excellent educational tools that challenge our children's minds and prepare them for the future? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Video games are nothing but huge time wasters, followed closely by skateboarding and self-stimulation. How many of you think it's your God-given right to apply salves, lotions, and have plastic surgery to make yourselves look as good as possible? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. The only reason you have the freedom to use Botox and get implants is because of the brave men and women of our military. Well, how many of you feel hotel management provides your family a safe, clean destination in which to vacation? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Hotel rooms are breeding grounds for infectious diseases, immoral behavior, and a dumping ground for numerous bodily fluids. Who thinks international athletic competition is an excellent tool for goodwill, bringing diverse people together in brotherly love? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Now, settle down. International sports is just a propaganda machine for corrupt governments. Who thinks it's the media's constitutional right to report on public figures regardless of accuracy? Show of hands now. You're wrong. Entertainment reporters are just wannabe performers whose self-worth relies on associating with talented celebrities like me, the captain. Thanks, Guy. How many of you think that the pageantry and cost of an elaborate wedding assures years of marital bliss? Show of hands now. Yeah! Well, you're wrong. This once sacred ceremony has been reduced to a drunken circus attended by mooching relatives, wannabe business partners, and nameless acquaintances. Thanks, Guy. Who thinks that distilled spirits are the root of society's failures and thus should be banned? Show of hands now. Yeah! Well, you're wrong. Properly administered, alcohol has proven medicinal purposes and can even enhance the looks of the opposite sex. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Question. Now, how many of you think the fast food industry is responsible for the fattening of America and that they should be held financially accountable for such? Show of hands now. Well, you're wrong. Your wanton gluttony is responsible for your preposterous girth.